Ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I want you to take a moment and think about this simple truth. The loudest voice in the room is not always the most powerful one. In fact, real strength rarely announces itself. It grows quietly, it builds silently, and it speaks only when the time is right. We live in a world that demands our attention at every turn, people telling us who to be, how to act, what to chase, but the greatest gift you can give yourself is the ability to step back, to tune out the noise, and to focus on the only person you can truly control, yourself. This speech is not about competing with others. It is not about proving anything to anyone. It is about reclaiming your energy, mastering your discipline, and discovering the strength that comes when you choose silence. Overreaction, focus over distraction, and patience over pressure. I want you to stay with me because by the time we are done, you will see how powerful you become when you stop explaining, stop defending, and instead let your results tell your story. Because in the end, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy, and the one who focuses inward wins outward. When I say focus on yourself, I don't mean it in a way that makes you close yourself off from the world or turn selfish. I mean it in the purest sense. The discipline of giving yourself permission to prioritize your own growth, your own peace, and your own dreams. Too often we find ourselves chasing approval, comparing our lives to others, scrolling endlessly through what everyone else is doing, and slowly forgetting the power of who we are. The truth is, comparison steals clarity, and when you are always looking at someone else's journey, you miss the opportunity to walk fully in your own. Focusing on yourself is an act of strength. It's about building the patience to say, I don't need to be distracted by everything around me. I don't need to answer every criticism. I don't need to prove myself to people who may never understand me. Instead, you create a space where your energy is invested into becoming the person you are meant to be. And that is the greatest investment of all. When you shift your attention inward, life starts to look different. You realize how much time you were giving away to things that had no value, arguments that didn't matter, conversations that drained you, comparisons that broke your confidence. When you begin to focus on yourself, you start living with intention. You stop saying yes to things that steal your energy and start saying yes to things that build your strength. That is when real growth begins. Think about the most successful people in the world. Their journeys did not start with an audience cheering them on. They began quietly in moments when no one was watching. They worked, they failed, they learned, and they kept going. Their strength came from an unwavering commitment to self-focus. They did not waste their energy trying to be louder than the noise around them. They simply stayed focused on their path until their results spoke so loudly that the world had no choice but to listen. And that is the lesson. You don't need to shout to be heard. You don't need to fight to be seen. You only need to focus, stay consistent, and let your progress tell the story. Silence gives you room to grow. Silence gives you the chance to build without interruption. It creates the foundation for everything that comes next. But focusing on yourself is not always easy. It requires courage to turn away from distractions, to walk away from negativity, to not get pulled into every conflict that tries to invite you in. It requires discipline to stay on your own path even when others don't understand it, and it requires trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust that all the small steps you are taking today are leading you to something greater. You see, when you focus on yourself, you are not just protecting your energy, you are also respecting it. You are telling yourself, my peace matters, my dreams matter, my growth matters. And when you live that way, you begin to radiate a different kind of strength. People notice it, even if you never say a word. They notice the calm confidence that comes from someone who no longer needs outside approval to feel complete. The world will always try to pull you in 100 directions. It will tell you that you need to keep up, that you're falling behind, that someone else is doing better, faster, bigger. But the truth is, the race is not against them. It's only against the version of yourself that you were yesterday. Focusing on yourself means waking up each day and asking, am I better, stronger, wiser than I was before? That is the only measure of success that truly matters, and when you begin to live that way, something powerful happens. You stop seeking validation. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop explaining yourself to those who only want to misunderstand you. Instead, you rise quietly, you grow steadily, and you build a life that speaks for itself. So, focus on yourself. Invest in your growth, in your peace, in your discipline. Protect your energy, value your silence, and keep building even when no one is watching. Because one day, the results of your focus will shine so brightly that they won't need any explanation. Silence has a power that most people never take the time to understand. We often live in a world where everyone feels the need to speak, to respond instantly, to defend themselves against every opinion, every judgment, every whisper. But when you learn the strength of silence, you begin to see that you don't need to answer every question. You don't need to react to every comment, and you don't need to explain yourself to those who have already made up their minds about you. Silence becomes your strength because it keeps your energy intact and your dignity protected. Think about it. How many times have you walked away from a situation and wished you had said less, wished you had stayed quiet, wished you had saved your breath instead of giving it to people who were never going to truly hear you? Words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. But silence is freedom. It gives you time to observe, to reflect, and to act with intention rather than impulse. It allows you to rise above situations that are designed to pull you down. Silence is not weakness. It is not surrender. It is not a lack of confidence. In fact, it is often the opposite. It takes far more strength to remain calm when provoked than it does to lash out. Anyone can argue, anyone can shout, but not everyone can choose restraint. The person who controls their words controls their world. And when you stay silent, you send a message that is louder than anything you could ever say, that your peace, your time, and your energy are too valuable to waste. There is also wisdom in silence. When you don't rush to speak, you give yourself the opportunity to listen, to really hear what is happening around you. You begin to see patterns, to notice truths that are hidden in between the noise. While others are distracted by their own voices, you are collecting information, building understanding, and preparing yourself for the right moment to act. Silence gives you clarity, and clarity is a gift that leads to smarter decisions and greater strength. Many people confuse noise with influence, but true influence is never measured by how loud you can be. It's measured by the weight of your presence, by the way people feel when you enter a room, by the results you deliver without ever needing to raise your voice. Silence amplifies that presence because it allows your actions to carry the weight instead of your words. There will always be people who try to provoke you, who push you to react, who want you to break your silence so they can pull you into their level of chaos. But every time you choose silence, you rise above their game. You protect your energy. You remind yourself that you do not need to prove anything to anyone who is not invested in your growth. Silence is not about avoiding confrontation. It is about mastering your response and deciding what is worth your energy. The most powerful people I have met are not those who speak the most, but those who know when to remain quiet. They understand that silence is not empty. It is full of answers. It is in silence that you hear your intuition, that you discover your strength, that you find the clarity to move forward. It is in silence that you prepare yourself for the moments when speaking truly matters. Because when you do choose to speak after silence, your words carry far more weight. Think of silence as your shield. It protects you from unnecessary battles. It guards your mind from being cluttered with meaningless noise. It saves your energy for the things that actually matter. And the more you use that shield, the more you realize how many things do not deserve your response. Not every comment deserves an answer. Not every rumor deserves a defense. Not every challenge deserves your energy. Silence teaches you to choose wisely, to protect what is sacred, and to hold yourself to a higher standard. And perhaps the most important lesson of silence is this: it teaches you that you do not need validation. You do not need approval. You do not need to convince anyone of your worth. Your silence becomes a statement that you are enough without explanation, that your focus is on building, not proving. And when your results speak for themselves, silence will have been your most powerful strategy. So remember this. Silence is not about saying nothing, it's about saying everything without words. It is the strength to hold your peace, the wisdom to wait, and the discipline to let your actions do the talking. There will always be voices around you trying to distract you from your purpose. Some will criticize, some will misunderstand, and others will go out of their way to test your strength. The truth is, you cannot control what people say about you, but you can control what you give your attention to. Protecting your energy is one of the most important things you will ever learn, because your energy is the fuel that drives your dreams, your discipline, and your destiny. When you let negativity in, it doesn't just steal your peace, it slows your progress. Every time you argue with someone who doesn't want to listen, every time you try to defend yourself against baseless opinions, every time you let criticism sink into your heart, you lose energy that could have been used to build yourself higher. Protecting your energy means refusing to hand over your power to people who never had your best interest in mind. Not everyone deserves access to you. Not every opinion deserves a place in your mind. And not every battle deserves your presence. There is a discipline in knowing when to walk away, when to stay quiet, when to keep your focus where it belongs. Protecting your energy is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is the understanding that you cannot pour your strength into every situation without draining yourself. You must choose carefully what you give your time and attention to. The more you focus on yourself, the more you will notice how people react to your growth. Some will cheer you on, but others may feel threatened. Some will respect your silence, while others will misinterpret it, and yet none of that changes your path. Because when you protect your energy, you are no longer living for their approval. You are living for your vision, your peace, and your growth. Negativity has a way of disguising itself. Sometimes it comes in the form of criticism from people who say they care. Sometimes it comes as jealousy masked as advice. Sometimes it comes as doubt disguised as concern. If you allow all of that to enter your mind, it can plant seeds of insecurity that grow quietly and hold you back. That is why you must be intentional about what voices you allow into your space. Protect your energy by being selective with what you hear, what you absorb, and what you carry with you. Protecting your energy also means protecting your inner dialogue. Because sometimes the loudest negative voice isn't outside. It's the one inside your own mind. The one that tells you that you're not good enough, not strong enough, not ready enough. And if you let that voice grow louder than your belief, you will never step into the strength that is already within you. That is why silence is so powerful. It gives you the space to quiet the outside noise and recenter yourself on what is true, that you are capable, that you are resilient, and that you are worthy of every dream you're working toward. There is freedom in no longer needing to fight every negative word spoken about you. There is peace in no longer explaining yourself to people who will twist your words anyway. And there is power in no longer trying to convince those who have already chosen not to understand you. Protecting your energy is about rising above it all and choosing to let your results do the talking. You do not need to defend yourself when you are building something real. You do not need to waste your voice on those who only want to tear you down. You do not need to lower yourself to answer every rumor, every criticism, every attempt to distract you. When you stay focused, when you stay silent, and when you protect your energy, you create a shield around your peace that nothing can break. Your energy is your currency. Spend it wisely. Spend it on the things that matter. Spend it on the dreams that make your life meaningful. Spend it on growth, on discipline, on love, on purpose. Because when you protect your energy, you ensure that your life is directed by your vision, not drained by the negativity of others. And so, when the world tries to pull you into chaos, remember this truth. Protecting your energy is not about shutting people out. It's about letting the right things in. It is about creating a life where your focus, your silence, and your results speak louder than any negativity ever could. At the end of the day, nothing speaks louder than results. You can defend yourself with words, you can argue your worth, you can try to convince people of who you are, but none of it has the impact of simply showing through action what you are capable of achieving. Results carry a power that explanations never will. They silence doubt, they quiet criticism, and they leave no room for debate. Because when your results are undeniable, no one can take them away from you. We live in a culture where people often spend more time talking about their plans than actually pursuing them. They announce, they promise, they explain, but the truth is, the world doesn't need another announcement. It needs proof, and proof only comes from action. The energy you spend on defending yourself, on responding to negativity, on proving your worth, is energy that could be building your results. That is why focus and silence are so powerful. They redirect your energy from noise to progress, from words to action, from defense to creation. Think about how powerful it is when someone underestimates you and you don't say a word. You just keep working. You don't argue, you don't explain, you don't waste time trying to convince them otherwise. And then one day, your results show up, undeniable and clear, and the same people who doubted you have no choice but to see what you've built. That is the victory of silence paired with focus. You don't need to tell the world who you are. You need to show them, and the beauty of results is that they don't just silence others. They empower you. Every step of progress you make builds your confidence, strengthens your discipline, and reminds you that you are capable of more than you imagined. Results are not only an answer to the world, they are an answer to yourself. They are proof that your silence was not emptiness, but preparation, that your focus was not isolation, but growth, that your patience was not weakness, but strategy. The truth is, results cannot be faked. For long, words can be empty, promises can be broken, opinions can shift, but results are real and they are permanent. When you dedicate yourself to focus, when you protect your energy from distractions, and when you commit to silent, steady progress, you will eventually reach a point where your achievements speak a language no critic can argue with. Results do not require interpretation, they stand on their own. And it is important to remember, results are not always about the big, dramatic wins. They are built in the small, consistent steps that you take each day. They are created in the quiet hours when no one is watching, in the discipline of choosing progress over comfort, in the persistence of doing the work even when the applause has not yet arrived. Every little step adds up, and in time, those steps build a life, a legacy, and a strength that no one can deny. Your silence and your focus give you the space to create these results. They keep you steady when others are distracted. They allow you to rise slowly, steadily, and intentionally. And when the results arrive, they carry with them not only proof of your ability, but also proof of your resilience. They show the world that you did not need noise to succeed. You needed discipline. You did not need validation to move forward. You needed vision. You did not need to prove your worth. You needed to live it. When you live this way, something shifts. You no longer feel the need to convince anyone of anything. You no longer chase recognition. You no longer waste your voice on battles that do not matter, because your life itself becomes the statement. Your achievements become your response. Your growth becomes your defense. And that is the ultimate freedom, the ability to let your results do the talking. So let the world watch. Let them question. Let them doubt. You don't need to argue. You don't need to explain. Stay focused, stay silent, and keep building. Because when your results arrive, they will speak with a power that no words could ever match.